Hello, everybody, and welcome to our second episode of Ice TV, all in celebration of National Iced Tea Month, which is all of June. So as you all know, we use every opportunity possible to celebrate tea, and with the heat wave that seems to have taken over Canada, there's really no better time to be doing this. So I have some fabulous guests again for you today. And I hope you got some great tips from last week's episode. If you missed last week's episode, it's available on Facebook, on our Facebook page, as well as our YouTube page. As well, we have included all of the recipes from each of the segments underneath both the Facebook clip as well as the YouTube clip. So without further ado, I am very happy to welcome my first guest, Marika DeVienne. How are you, Marika?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, thank you for being here. So before we start, let me introduce you to everybody else. So Marika DeVienne has been working in the tea business for the past 20 years with a focus on sourcing traditional teas from China, Japan, and Sri Lanka. She lived in China for 6 years, studying the art of Chinese tea, and has traveled extensively in both China, Japan, Sri Lanka, India, Mexico, Trinidad, Greece, Turkey. The list obviously goes on and on and on and on and on and on, and all in the pursuit of the perfect cup of tea. Prior to joining David's Tea, Marika owned her own tea shop for 10 years in the famed Jean Talon market in Montreal, which I understand is still operating. 2 years ago, Marika joined the David's Tea family. She started as a buyer and currently works as project lead in the content department. So you like tea?
Like is perhaps an understatement. Maybe obsession is more apt, but it's impossible in my view to not love the second most consumed beverage on the planet.
It's really difficult to not get infected. I totally agree with you. So kindred spirit, I get it. So Marika, are you a hot tea drinker or a cold tea drinker?
I'm really a hot tea drinker. That's really how I started my whole discovery with tea. And also my family's West Indian. And with that British influence of drinking tea, it's believed in the West Indies when it's hot, drinking hot tea regulates your temperature much better than drinking anything cold. So I really traditionally reach for a hot cup of tea. But as you mentioned, this heat wave is testing even the most steadfast hot tea drinkers out there. So this past week has been all about the ice.
Yeah.
All about the ice.
So what you just said is a really interesting point. And I think that, we all instinctively reach towards hot things when it's cold and cold things when it's hot. When in reality, if we really wanted to be scientific about it, in order to stop you from feeling the heat, what you need to do is bring your inner body temperature up to your outer body temperature.
Exactly.
And you do that through hot beverages, not through cold temperature beverages. So it's interesting because it's very it's counterintuitive, but scientifically, it's what actually makes more sense.
I think it's counterintuitive to North Americans. And I mean, I was born and raised in North America, and we get so cold. We get so gosh darn cold that, we really need our hot beverages to sustain us in those cold months. But, all over India, all over the West Indies, drinking chai in the streets of, India is a very common thing. And it's always this boiling hot beverage. And I just find it to be very, very cooling. Yeah. When the humidity factor enters into play, however, that's when my North Americanness kind of comes out, and I'm like, I'm going to head to the freezer and see if I can't improve my situation.
Well, Toronto was at 91% humidity this morning. So it wasn't just opening up the freezer. It was can I crawl into it, please? Because that's how ridiculous it's been here. So this isn't, as much as I love to chat with you about this, I want to see some iced tea. And you're going to make 2 iced teas for us, I understand. Tea-Infused Grapefruit Granita, love, and Hibiscus Splash iced tea. So floor is all yours.
All right, so I had the pleasure of choosing these two teas because, well, it's our talk, so I got to choose my two favorites, and I chose a tea called Pink Grapefruit Rosé, which is on an oolong base. And the reason I really like this tea is I have a slight obsession with oolongs in particular, and I feel that they carry flavor very well, although they are very nuanced and delicate by their very nature. If you find a nicely roasted oolong and a compatible flavor to it, it works out beautifully. I'm not prone to eating grapefruit as a fruit, and I'm not prone to drinking it traditionally, but I just find that it's very cooling and refreshing on this tea. And so the recipe that I made is as you said, an infused granita, and I have it here, and you need to see the color on this. I don't know if it's showing its true beauty.
It matches our background on the screen. Perfect.
Yeah, and so it's essentially making a simple syrup. You're going to make a concentrate of your tea. You're going to add sweetener, be it agave or white sugar, or whatever you have on hand. We're in Canada, maple syrup. Go for it.
Yes.
You're going to heat that, and then you're going to put it in a shallow pan in your freezer and let it freeze. And every hour to half hour, you're going to scrape it until you get the consistency of shaved ice like this.
Yeah.
So you can add sweetener to taste. I find that with teas that have citrus in it, be it orange or grapefruit or mandarin, a little less sugar is necessary just to get that astringency and that nice citrus flavor to come out, because the sugar does have a tendency to cancel that out ever so slightly. Mm-hmm. And so I'm so happy that I got to make this today. And as you said, just like hide in my freezer with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. So, interesting. You made a simple syrup, and did the shaved ice with that, as opposed to making a tea and freezing that and sort of slushing it.
Exactly. Because cooking the sugar really enhances like its intensity. Okay. And when I say cook, it's a simple syrup. It was 2 minutes. I mean, it was a real quick, I'm a mother of 2 young children. Expediency is the name of the game, so really just a quick stir, and it makes it a little bit more intense because through the freezing process, it's going to get a little like watered down. So it's nice to have that true intensity when you cook it.
Great. So for our viewers, simple syrup. Simple syrup is it's simple. It's equal parts sugar to water. So whatever volume you're using, you can make this much simple syrup, you can make this much simple syrup. So it's just equal parts of sugar and water. And what was your tea ratio that you did?
I did about 25 grams to 3 cups of water. You can go higher, but because this is an oolong base and the leaves are quite large and expands, I put it at around that ratio to get the true intensity of the tea. Perfect.
Yum. All right. Yeah. Your second recipe today is hibiscus splash iced tea.
Yes, it is. I love hibiscus splash. As I said, my family's from the West Indies. Hibiscus drinks are a part of our culture. This tea has pineapple pieces in it, has a lovely flavoring, and it just really encapsulates that hibiscus drink that you'll find in certain parts of Africa called bisap, or sorrel, as we'll find in Trinidad.
Right.
So to make it iced, I just put 2 perfect spoons, which is around 8 grams, to about 10 ounces of water. I'm using our tea press today. Again, expediency in this heat is the name of the game. I filled it with ice, and I'm just going to show you. I press it down, and I instantly have my iced tea ready to go. And it's just a really thirst quenching. Hibiscus is phenomenal in this kind of heat. It just cuts down on that humidity perfectly.
Yeah. And so hibiscus is where we get all that beautiful vibrant red in pretty much every herbal blend that's out there. It also gives that really beautiful tartness. And I think that's what you're talking about that cutting, right?
Yeah.
So you need to show us your snazzy infuser there. So you put the leaves, you put the tea right in.
You put the tea, it's basically a French press.
Okay.
It's a French press. So you put your tea in, and then you fill it till about here. Now it's been diluted with the ice. And I fill this completely with ice.
Okay.
And so once it's steeped after 4 minutes, I just do it French press style, press it down gently so you don't have any
Perfect.
splashback. And now because I've already done it, the pressure is acting up. But essentially after 1 minute, you have iced tea.
Yeah.
So in total, it takes about 5 to 6 minutes to get a cup of iced tea, which is amazing because I think a lot of people buy ready-made iced tea assuming it would be faster.
Yeah.
But it takes about 6 minutes to do in something like this. And even if you steep it in a teapot and make a concentrate and then pour it over ice, we're still talking 6 minutes, which is
it's one of the easiest ways, and I you know, I think it was one of those things that until I tried it, I'm like, I'm a little skeptical. Is shaking it. If you have a cocktail shaker, you don't even need a cocktail shaker. You can use like a mason jar or something. Put your tea into there with some ice, shake it up, and you will be amazed at how quickly we go from hot tea to ice, like cold tea, really, really quickly.
It's the most adaptable beverage on the planet. You can do so many things with it, and it's just so quick and refreshing and delicious.
Well, it's been delightful to have you on ICE TV with me.
Thank you so much.
I wish I could reach and, you know, have some of that Granita, but I'm going to make some.
All right. Sounds good. And choose any tea that you want to make with it. It's just a delicious recipe.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Marika. Take care.
Thank you. Have a lovely.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that's deliciousness. And like I said, Toronto was at 91% humidity this morning. And well, that's just too much for anybody. I don't care how much you love heat, just too much. So these iced tea recipes are more than welcomed at the moment. And it takes me great pleasure to introduce my next guest, Annabel Kalmar. How are you, Annabel?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to see you.
It's quite funny seeing myself with the tropical flowers and everything around in the cutouts. I'm really good. I'm really well. Thank you.
You've got a lovely flower coming out of your hair on the screen.
It's very decorative, your framing.
So let me introduce you to everybody else. Annabel Kalmar was born in Germany and studied agriculture, the environment, and agricultural economics, writing a thesis on sustainability and farming systems and banana trading. She holds a Master of Science in Agricultural Economics from UC Davis and an MBA from the London Business School. Her lifelong passion about fair trading and transparency in food inspired her to get into tea, to drive change for farmers and tea lovers by creating an authentic tea experience. She launched her company, social impact venture Tea Rebellion, in 2017. It's really nice to have you here, Annabel. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask all my guests: hot tea drinker or cold tea drinker?
Both, but I started on hot, like most of us.
Yeah. Okay.
I grew up with black hot tea. Yes.
But you do a balance of both at this point?
I do. Having kind of experienced the hot summers in Toronto. I'm now definitely brewing cold teas in the summer. So it's that's one of the things that taught me traveling to hot countries where they also do cold brewing, and that's why I chose a cold brew.
Good.
With all kinds of settings. Yes.
Yeah. It's it's one of the great paradoxes of Canada, right? We go from -40 to +40, and in May and April, that could actually happen within a few days of each other. So,
anyone from Central Europe with no warning.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Annabel, you are going to make us a kukicha cold brew.
All right, excellent. So the challenge with the kukicha cold brew is that you need the time for it to cold brew. So I've had a very good tip from Adi in terms of how to do this. So I prepared it last night, and I have 2 bottles that look the same, one with the halfway brewed and one with the new one that I'm going to do here.
Perfect.
So the kukicha green is a green tea. So here we have the leaves. Oops, all this way. It is a stem tea. For those who've never kind of brewed it, it's basically just the stems of a green tea. This one comes from a organic tea farm in Japan called Naturality. And I've chosen it because I want to drink more green teas. I'm also, of brew a lot of whites and oolongs and black, but green, I have a lot of choice with Tea Rebellion. I have lots of different green teas, and they're very good, refreshing and energizing cold brew for me in the summer. And I like that I can prepare it in advance and have it ready to, to rock and take with me when I go out to the gym or biking or whatever. It's a really good way to be hydrated on the go. That's why I like the cold brew a lot. And for those who maybe have not cold brewed before, the difference usually is in the flavor profile. It's a more flowery, lighter experience of drinking green tea or any tea really. It's an alternative to like a pop or a soda or something, a goose in that sense, rather than like a really, like a heavier tea. So I've taken 8 grams and measured them out in this little pot. And I have a 1 liter kind of bottle. Okay. And to make it easier, not have to do that on camera, I pre-filled the 8 grams in here. Right. And then the part that I did last night is basically use cold filtered water and fill it up, which now looks like this, always gets a little bit cloudy. And put it in the fridge. And I usually brew it for kind of anywhere between 8 and 16 hours. If I don't have a fridge, which, for example, during my travels, I would cold brew it outside for like 3 hours, this tea, roughly, room temperature. Okay. When there's a fridge, the advantage is that it is more subtle in taste. And the cold brew gets if the tea's up outside, it will be more towards the direction of a hot brew, So if you want the subtle and very flowery and light taste, use the fridge. If you are happy to have it a bit stronger and you don't have the time, just cold brew it outside for 3 hours. Yeah, and so that's the one that's ready now to go. And I actually, because it's quite cool, you can just drink it like that. But I do also, because it's really hot right now, like to put it just on iced tea. So basically, I'm just pouring it over iced tea, and that's my drink. I do, because I'm a bit of a tea purist, I don't add too much stuff into my teas. But I did try to add chili powder and lemon. Which, yes, interesting, right? And I think if I was in the tropics right now, I would probably drink it like that. But for me, taking it to the gym and being outside and cycling with it, I prefer to just have it pure, which basically, just tastes like a very fresh, subtle, grassy, healthy, refreshing version of a green tea. So I really love this in the summer. And I wish I could give some to you, Shabnam.
So what I love is that you chose to do a straight tea, and I think it's really great. One of the things that we've seen here so far is, every single guest truly has a completely different method of making their teas, which I think for a lot of people that aren't familiar with iced teas. Anybody south of the border watching this is going, seriously? How can you not know about iced teas? But we don't drink our teas mostly cold. We drink it hot, usually because of the climate. But you don't have to necessarily take a flavored or a blended tea. You can make beautiful iced teas or chill them the way that you have with just a nice, straight, pure tea. And you're going to have a really crisp, clean taste, right?
Yeah, so that of course goes away. So when I tried, like if I'm going to try and add in a lemon, because I don't want it right now, or the chili, it does take over. So the lemon, the lemon skin, I would hardly, because it's so subtle, the cold brewing. You can do it more easily if you hot brew and then ice it, because it will sustain the lemon and the chili. Yeah. But if you cold brew, to really enjoy it and to get the subtleness and the refreshing flowery taste, I think it's better to keep it pure, because otherwise you won't taste it.
So I just want to talk really quickly about the concept of cold brewing, because it's something that we talk about, in the world of tea, and we know about it, but a lot of consumers actually don't understand or know about the concept of cold brewing, right? They know about making tea and either putting it in the fridge or making tea and pouring it over ice, and you've got your iced tea. But cold brew is about long and slow, right? So you used 8 grams for how much water?
For a liter.
Okay. And how would you change that ratio? Would you double it for 2 liters, or would you sort of 1.5 it?
So to be very honest, I do it a little bit by intuition.
Yeah.
For this particularly, I measured it all out, but I would otherwise just look at what I try and do is to have the bottom of a bottle like this covered with the leaves.
That's a good tip.
Yeah. So because the leaves would be different bulkiness, or, you know, like there's so many variants in terms of how the leaves look, but it's important not to take too little. So you do go through more leaves with the cold brew, I think, or generally with iced tea a little bit, if you want to make sure that it's not too diluted with the ice. So it's not a good way of preserving your leaves, I think, generally. Yeah. I would just try and see that the bottle is filled. And then, you know, sometimes in the middle of the brewing process, I actually do taste it and see whether I already like the taste. And if not, I put it back in the fridge. You know, like it's not like it's a finished product and I put a timer. No, I kind of sometimes see how it develops over time. Yeah,
that's a really good tip. And then when it's finished, do you strain the leaves out or do you leave the leaves in?
I strain it.
You do. Good.
I didn't do this right now because it would have been messy on camera, but I would strain it because if you're letting it brew, it will at some point get too strong. So right now there is little risk of this because it's still cold water. But once it goes to room temperature, it can overbrew. So it's better to take the leaves out.
Yeah. And that's the other really, I think, important thing to talk about when we're cold brewing is it's very counter to how we tell people to normally brew their tea, right? Use this much for this long, steep it. You know, obviously there's ranges in how long, but to remove it. So to say leave it in there for 16, 18, 24 hours, I have to confess the very, very, very first time in my life I made cold brew, I'm like, really? I don't know about that. But it works. And it's a whole different flavor because of that long and slow steep.
Yeah, it's a really neat other way to discover how to make tea. And I virtually learned about this traveling in Taiwan and Japan, like on the farms, because that's what they drank in the fields. And that's what I took when they went to travel. So
I had a Japanese tea maker tell me first about it. I'm like, okay, I'll try anything once. But I do admit I was skeptical the first time.
Yeah, it stuck with me. So now I really enjoy doing it. I'm glad they taught me.
Yeah. So I'm going to share a tip with you. If you like lemon and chili, this is not tea related, but still, if you like lemon and chili, there's a fantastic spice mix called Tajin, Tajin. It's from Mexico. I call it crack because I put it on everything. And it's lime, chili, and a little bit of salt. It's delicious on fruit.
Yeah, I love chili on avocados, for example. I'm a big chili fan. So are my kids. They're getting really into chili. So I'll try it. Thank you for the tip, Shabnam.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And
exciting. I said we'll talk later in the week. Looking forward.
Yeah. Actually, let's tell everybody while we have them here. I will be hosting a clubhouse room with Annabel on Friday. This Friday, 10 Eastern Standard, and we're going to be talking about tea and wine.
Yeah, what can we learn from wine for the world of tea, or vice versa, I guess.
Perfect. So any of you who are interested, want to know how to connect, get onto Clubhouse and go to Tea Rebellion Social. That's where it is. If you forget all of that and you don't know how, email either one of us and we'll
if you still need an invite to Clubhouse, also let us know. DM Canada Tea or Tea Rebellion, because not everyone's on there yet.
That's right. Yeah, that's really important. You need access to this really cool new venue.
You don't have to be dressed and makeup and all that. It's only audio, which is
I know, it's fabulous. I know. Well, it's been lovely. Thank you so much, Annabel, and hope to see you soon. And I'll talk to you on Friday.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. All right. So while we are waiting for our next guest, I am going to actually share one of our iced tea videos with you. with that, I am very pleased to introduce our next guest, Frank Weber. Hi, Frank.
Welcome to Iced Tea Studios.
Well, you've got a great setup there. Let me introduce everybody else to you, or you to everybody else. Frank Weber is the founder of Tea Squared, a specialty tea company that was born out of a passion for food and a lust for the leaf. Tea Squared was conceived in 2013 as a supplier for tea shops, fine food stores, and restaurants. Many years in the industry has provided Frank with in-depth insight on the origins and production methods of his favorite beverage. We have a bit of feedback. Do you have somewhere? Do you have us on in two different places?
No, we have a fan on. Maybe we can turn that one off. Fan?
Yeah, in this heat. Do you mind turning off your fan?
Absolutely, in this heat we'll do. But we'll have some refreshing iced teas to counterbalance. So I think we'll be all right. But,
all right, perfect. So you are going to make two recipes for us: Taipei Bellini and a Tuscan Mimosa.
Correct. Yes.
All right.
For the cocktail connoisseurs, we don't want to take the names. Not going to argue about whether it's actually Bellini or not. But anyway, those are the recipes for today. Yes.
Hey, all yours.
All mine. So take it away. Well, welcome to Tea Squared. We're in our office here, and we just got a little setup going. So as Shabnam said, we've got two recipes to make today. The Taipei Bellini is the one we're going to start with, and for that we have a Dongding Oolong. I'm going to drop it off the plate here with the camera holding. But this is a lovely tea from Nantou County, Taiwan, so middle of Taiwan. And I found this supplier on one of my trips. Now, Dongding is frozen peak, and it comes from the mountain of the same name in Taiwan. It's a beautiful, you can not really see that, but it's a beautiful rolled leaf. It imparts a really thick, sweet, kind of nutty flavor, honey-like fragrances on the tea. And it's all in all, I believe, Shabna, one of your favorite teas.
It is one of my favorite teas. I am crazy about this tea. Yeah.
Yes, I know. One of the reasons maybe why we're doing this today. But anyway, so I've teamed this tea up, and I wanted to do a cold brew, just like Annabel, you did talked about that a little bit before. Now, cold brew is super easy. I really like it because it does just gently steep those flavors out, and I find that the liquid or the liquor you get out of the cold brew is somewhat more mellow.
Yeah.
Very simple, and it's quite forgiving, even with a tea that can tend to get bitter. I mean, some exclusions there are, but the oolongs work very well. So for our cold steep, what we're going to do is we'll take our Dongding, and I'm just going to go with a regular mason jar here and put in 2 nice heaping teaspoons. So we're talking probably around about 12 to 14 grams or so, if you're so inclined. And then basically just cover the bottom of the glass.
Okay.
And fill that up with cold water. So the mason jar holds about 1 liter. So by the time the tea leaves soak up a little bit of it, and I'm not going right to the top, we're probably talking about 750 mil. But again, this is not rocket science. So we can just put that in our fridge now. And I steeped it for as short as 3 hours, and was quite lovely. Or you could just do it overnight, and that'll be good. Anything much longer than that, I would advise against that a little bit. But that's pretty much it. So we've got our tea made already.
Okay.
Now we're going to move on to the next step, which is the Bellini part. So with a little knife, we've got some peaches as they're coming in season now, August, Ontario. I mean, couldn't be better. Now, to be quite honest, these aren't the best peaches I've seen, but what I like to do is I'll score them once and a quarter, and then again, do another segment here. So I got like 8 little slivers, and then cut them around once, such, and then we can basically just take the pits out. Perfect. Number 1, and I'm going to go another one. So this is really up to you. These are quite small, but for two people, you could do 2 larger peaches or 3 small ones. Really up to you. So we get the peaches, and then This will make a little bit beforehand, maybe half an hour or so beforehand would be great because we'd like them to macerate a little bit.
Okay.
Basically, maceration is extracting some of the juices out of the fruit, and we're going to do that with a little bit of sugar.
Okay.
Here, so I'm just going to pretend we have one. I'm going to use a brown sugar here, and basically just sprinkle 2 teaspoons. But it's really up to you. I mean, you could skip the sugar altogether. I do find it just bounces out the flavors a little bit of the fruit, and it does help the iced tea, which is great. So we're just gonna stir this up a little bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this just a tiny little, little spritz of peach schnapps here. Okay.
Okay. Just a spritz.
Just a little spritz, So there we go. So we'll let this sit for about half an hour or so, and then we're going to have our already macerated peaches. And I don't know if you can see that, but there's already some juice in the bottom of this, right?
Yeah.
So this is perfect. So we got our peaches, and we've got our already steeped Dongding Oolong, which we made just this morning. So this one's done about 4 hours for us.
That's a really quick cold brew infuse, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it does work. I find that, especially particular with the oolongs, it works because they are a bit more bold and they've got a lot to offer in terms of that earthiness and those baked chestnut flavors, and so I think they do go quite well. All right, next step is we're going to take our lovely peaches and just put them in our wok or beside it, whichever way you choose. Just divide them up a little bit on the bottom here.
Okay.
And we're going to need some ice. We need some ice. Ice is coming.
Welcome to live TV.
We're at studios, damn it. Okay. So we're going to put some ice in here, and we're going to put in some peach schnapps. So I said about 2 ounces each. Play it as you will.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, and thank you. Got our ice here. Okay. So the other ice.
Good.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we're gonna put a little bit of ice in here.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wonderful. And the oolong. Well, I'd say this is good.
Nice. So you could, for our viewers watching, if it's not peach season, you could replace this and really do any fruit with this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could see berries work very well in something like this as well, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna garnish this with a little bit of mint here. I like a mint. And what I'd like to give with it as well is, because this is a drink, but this is also maybe a dessert or so.
Yeah.
Because peaches are quite tasty. So we're going to add a couple of spoons here, so that you can then enjoy the peaches. And like it or not, I think we need a straw for this.
All right. Very nice. Delicious.
Taipei.
It doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that well, but that's we'll get there exactly. Perfect. Okay, so our second recipe is the Tuscan mimosa.
Tuscan mimosa, exactly. So that one, we need a few glasses here. Lovely. So for this, we are going to use one of my favorite tisanes from Tea Squared. And this is a tea that we call honey fig tree. And it is really, really beautiful assortment of fig bits with some beetroot and some pineapple and some apple pieces, but just a very, very nice, sweet and luscious tea. So for this recipe for 4, we will use about a cup or 50 grams of iced tea. And And so in order to make that, I'd like to get as much out of those leaves as possible, out of those fruit as possible. So we're going to take 50 grams or 1 cup. I've put them into our Tea Squared tea bags, biodegradable tea bags. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the tags off here. And I'm going to just throw them into our saucepan. This little burner where we make all the staff lunches at Tea Squared. And I'm going to add 400 milliliters of water to it. Okay.
I'll share your address later so people know where to pop by for lunch and cocktails.
We charge extra for parties.
Yeah, I bet.
Okay, so this we're going to now simmer for about 15 minutes. And when it comes to teas like that, the longer the better. Just let the tea really absorb all these beautiful flavors and let those come out. What we do next is, once this is all done, we're going to end up with this concentrate. Concentrate goes into the champagne glass.
So that's a gorgeous red color.
Yeah. Beautiful figs.
Nice.
Just going to give it this little slice of fig here. So we have our garnish. And then all we need to do, because I know you're looking at your watch right now and you're saying this guy is way too long. No, I'm not. I thought I passed my 10 minutes.
You are.
Oh, yeah. Okay, then.
But that's okay. But that's okay. So the tea itself has fig in it, and the blend itself has fig in it. You said.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you're using the fig here as garnish. It's not because of.
Okay. The fig is just garnish.
Okay.
And I have some cotton candy. I had some beautiful pink cotton candy because I thought that would work better.
Nice.
And I had that in a bowl for 10 minutes and it looks like this now.
And
so we're going with the blue.
Okay.
So I'm just going to put a little cotton candy in here and that's melting right away. There we go. A little bit more. Yeah, so ideally they will stick on the top there.
Nice.
Okay, and then all we need to do is fill this up with some bubbles.
Gorgeous. So I think what's really interesting about this is that it's, you've taken what was tea, and it's about elevating it, not just as using it as an ingredient, but really, I mean, anybody who's in food service, this is what you need to be looking at in order to figure out how to elevate your entire tea program. And it's stuff like this, and it's about presentation, and it's about garnish, and all of the details that people spend on when they're making cocktails in restaurants. You can do that by adding teas into the ingredient list as well. And you get some really beautiful, gorgeous colors and flavors that are a little bit more unusual.
That's right. Yeah, who wouldn't want to have a little Saturday or Sunday brunch with one of these?
Or a Wednesday 12:30.
Cheers.
Cheers. Well, that is delicious. Now, let me ask you, are you a hot tea drinker or a cold tea drinker?
I would say hot. Cold tea is nice, but yes, I'm a hot tea drinker. I drink, I don't know, probably a gallon of tea every day, and some of my favorites are the oolongs. I see the biggest, flavor profiles in there, from something very light and floral to something deep baked and rich and chestnut flavors and honey and so forth. So yeah, I mean, I definitely say I'm definitely more hot. When it comes to cold, we move to something like this.
Lovely. So you used a cava there. I can see the bottle. You can obviously use any sparkling wine that you want. So Prosecco, and if the mood so inclines, a proper champagne.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't use a proper champagne, but I would use something very dry, like a dry cava, because if you're going into the Asti Spumantis that are already very sweet, we are adding some fruit and we're adding a little bit of sugar with the cotton candy. So it's, it's probably a good idea to use something dry.
And I don't know why anybody would want to, but in case you want to do a non-alcoholic version, sparkling water.
Definitely, absolutely. Something with a lot of bubbles, a nice club soda. Probably club soda because it has more effervescence than just a mineral water. Because I think that's when you're mixing it with other things like the tea, you're still going to get some bubbles.
Lovely. Well, I hope those aren't going to go to waste. Enjoy them.
Definitely not. I got the line up here already.
All right. Well, it's good seeing you. Thank you so much for doing Iced TV with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. All right. So I did promise you that you're going to get completely different recipes and completely different approaches with every single one of our guests. And I am not surprised, but relieved that I have not been made a liar. And I doubt very much that our next guest is going to make a liar out of me either. So with that, I am very happy to have Cindi Bigelow join us. Hi, Cindi.
Hi, Shabnam. How are you doing?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and happy Iced Tea Month.
Happy Iced Tea Month. And not just Happy Iced Tea Month, tomorrow is actually National Iced Tea Day.
I know that. And at Bigelow, we're actually going to be celebrating it as well tomorrow with all kinds of fun sweepstakes and great prizes. So yes, we all celebrate our Iced Tea Month. So
I have asked all of my guests, are you a hot tea drinker or a cold tea drinker?
Oh, I've been listening, and I'm a little jealous that Frank had like a little alcohol in his. Next time I'm doing that. Obviously, as you heard, many people, I'm both. Actually, I've been drinking, and it's true, a lot of the drinks I'm going to be sharing with you today is what I have been drinking as of late. So last few months, I would say I'm gravitating more to the cold side.
So I think it's an interesting, I mentioned this earlier, it's always an interesting question to ask people north of the border and south of the border, because 80% of Americans drink their tea cold. And for Canadians, I cannot tell you how many Canadians, when they hear the word iced tea, they're like, really? How do you do that? It's a whole foreign concept. And yet there's so many other things that we share so closely. So before you get started, I should introduce you to everybody else. So Cindi Bigelow, before assuming her role as third generation president and CEO of family-owned Bigelow Tea in 2005, Cindi spent 20 years in virtually all areas of the company that her grandmother founded. Cindi is instrumental in expanding Bigelow Tea into new channels while building awareness and brand engagement across social media, all to ensure Bigelow Tea is accessible everywhere 24/7. And you know how much I love your social media. But I think I also have to say that, if you don't know about everything that Bigelow Tea does besides their beautiful products, go to their website to take a look at all of the great work that they do within their communities. So having said that, I pass over to you, Bigelow, Cindi, because you are going
Bigelow's fine. It works too.
Yo, Bigelow. No, I don't think we're there yet. Maybe after a couple of drinks. So, Cindi, you're going to make 2 recipes for us. One is called, 3 recipes. Okay. So I've got, I love lemon.
And perfectly mint.
And perfectly mint iced tea. So you're combined. Oh, I love this. Okay. Then you're going to make iced green tea tropical brew over ice K-cup. And the third's going to be a surprise for me. So all yours.
Well, the first one will be the surprise then.
Okay.
So, you asked before, am I drinking hot? Am I drinking cold? And I said, lately, I've been really gravitating toward the cold. Well, we just created a new line. It's called Bigelow Botanicals. And it's not iced tea, although we are celebrating in here for Iced Tea Month.
Yeah.
But what it is are these beautiful botanicals, which I actually have over here if you can see them, that you just put into cold water and they infuse. And for us, it was a way to just drink more water. So I look at that as my refreshing way of getting much more water in, and it's not a nice tea, but it's a tea in water. So I'm going to do that to start because they need a little bit of time. So I chose our strawberry, lemon, orange blossom. I love them all. Putting it in water, just let it sit there. This is as complicated as it gets, which in our busy world, we need a lot of this. The next one is the blackberry raspberry hibiscus. Again, it really doesn't matter. They're all really good. And This is as challenging as it gets. You open it, you put it in there.
Okay.
You just let it infuse. So we're going to drink those in a little bit.
Okay.
So that's our first, not iced tea, but cold water botanical infusion.
So I could pop that into my water bottle, right?
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. And this is 100% true. The doctor told me you need to drink more water. I unfortunately ended up getting COVID. The whole thing with COVID is you need to drink a lot more water. And I will tell you, if you put a 16-ounce glass of water in front of me, I will do it. It'll be hard work. And I literally will drink it almost like it's a job.
Yeah.
When I started putting the botanicals in it, I was drinking 3 and 4 16-ounce glasses of water without even thinking about it.
Wow.
So that's why I drink so much more of it now, because I just know if I do this with my water, and I don't know if you can see already the beautiful colors that it's
totally
turning into already.
Yeah. So just
Love that.
I'm just gonna add really quickly that because we did a couple of cold brews earlier. This is not cold brew, and people need to understand that. It is the concept of cold brew because you're steeping in cold water. But these teas have been specifically made to steep quickly. It doesn't need the 16-hour process.
And safely. These have been, yes, in a way that you can take them and put them in the water, cold water, and they are botanicals that you could just drink as much as you absolutely want to. And again, I love to change between the flavors. We just came out with a new peach lemonade. Again, this is a botanical infusion. They have a gentle sort of sweetness to them and just enough flavor that you could drink a ton of them. It's fantastic. Nice. Love them. All right, now the first one you said we were going to be making is, we do this all the time. When my kids were in my house and their friends were over, of course, I would have a tea drawer, as you know, Shabnam. Yeah. And we'd open up the tea drawer and I would say, just pick whatever 2 teas you want. And we would just sort of experiment making iced teas. And so some of my favorite is when we take our Perfectly Mint, which is a beautiful spearmint and black tea, and our I Love Lemon, which is 100% herbal botanical. Right. And take the 2 of them, put them in your glass of choice. I put a spoon in there just because you don't want to have any issue with the hot. And then you just don't put in a lot of water. Basically, I don't know. I'm not even going to measure it. Looks good.
Okay.
Because you want to make a concentrate.
Yeah.
So we're just going to let this steep.
Okay.
And normally what I would let that steep for is about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. Again, there's no specific rule, no specific amount of water. That's what makes it fun. 2 tea bags of choice, hopefully your Bigelow tea bags.
Yes.
And put it in there and let it steep. I already have some over here that's steeped because we don't want to take 4 minutes and do that now. And here's your finished product.
Okay.
Take my 2 tea bags out. And again, I'm going to pour it to a spoon, filled with ice. And then I'm going to garnish. And that's also fun, whatever you want. Here I have a little mint. Very fun. I'm going to throw in a few raspberries. Why not?
Why not?
I have them. And a little lemon.
Nice.
Again, I know you have some of your previous speakers that said they don't normally put sugar in. They drink it plain because they're purists. I do agree with that, but I will tell you for my iced teas, I do like just a little bit of sugar.
So
I wish you could see how
I have to admit that I don't sweeten any of my hot teas ever, but I always sweeten my iced teas. Just a little bit, not a lot. It doesn't
a little bit. Just a little dabble, do you?
Yeah.
And then the straw for the effect.
Yeah. Perfect. So making that concentrate is really important because when you pour it over ice, it's still going to taste like tea, right? The ice is going to dilute the concentrate and it's perfect.
Well, first of all, you talk about drinking fresh brewed iced tea.
Yeah.
And as you and I have talked about for many, many years, the health benefits of tea, in some of the studies I've read, it's very important you drink your fresh brewed iced tea when it has the highest amount of antioxidants, because over time your iced tea will oxidize and you will lose some of the benefits. So this is as fresh brewed as you could possibly have. So you've got all the health benefits, the fresh brewed green tea taste. I'm sorry, black tea taste in this case.
And 4 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes. And there's no real rules. Pick whatever 2 teas you want. Yeah. Pour 3-4 ounces of water. Well, let it steep 4 or 5 minutes. And you pour it over ice, garnish it any way you want.
Love it.
How great is that? How easy.
I love it. And I love that you're mixing. I love that you're mixing flavors. I know that you do this sometimes on social media. You ask people to submit their favorites, but it's about having fun with what you have, right? So
yeah, these are some other ones. I have red raspberry and jasmine green and lemon ginger green tea using our wild blueberry acai.
Nice.
You could take anything you like and just experiment with it. And talk about inexpensive. Just 2 tea bags you're putting in there. Fun, easy, fresh brewed, and in my opinion, probably one of the best cups of iced tea you're going to have.
Lovely.
But it's about convenience. I think in today's world, we're all so busy. I know I can say for myself, I'm busy. And just being able to do something easy, simple, that's good for you, good for your body, that you really enjoy, which is the last one we're going to make, which is the K-Cup, right? Doesn't get any easier than this, Shabnam. We have 3 of them. We just launched them, which is really fun. We have a tropical green. We have a plain unsweetened black. And then we have what I'm making. No, actually, I'm going to make the iced tea tropical. We have the perfectly mint, which is what I used here in the tea bag version with the I Love Lemon. So we're going to do the tropical green, which I love. And it's very complicated.
It looks it. It looks
Are you ready?
I am bracing myself.
Let's see if this works. It's working.
I can hear it. Yeah.
All right. So now you're going to take this. You're going to pour it over this. Okay. And you're going to have another easy iced tea. And again, you don't really need to add anything to this. This has a gentle sweetness to it as well. It's got a little tropical flair to it, which is awesome. So whether you want to use a hot tea bag that you steep and make iced, you want to use our cold botanicals to make a gorgeous botanical infused water. Yep. Very careful not to say iced tea. Or you want to take your K-Cup iced tea, designed very much for iced tea.
So, yeah, that was tough. That was tough. So tell me, Cindi, tell me the K-Cup one that you did, when you say it's specifically designed for iced tea, because it's, again, making a concentrate, right?
Well, it's still your tea leaves, but it's the recipe is created with a fast infusion that happens in a K-Cup machine, in a Keurig machine. So we have to make sure that these are designed very specifically so you're going to get that full flavor profile in an iced tea version, right? Because this I steeped for 4 minutes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
This has also had the luxury of being in here for several minutes, but look at that gorgeous color.
I was just going to say, those colors are, I mean, the amount of time that happened, it's amazing.
And also look at how much water. You don't have to, I put 16 ounces of water with that.
Yeah.
And then the same thing here. So you have 3 different ways that you can enjoy a beautiful cup of iced tea, or botanical infusion.
Or botanical infusion. There is literally no reason in the world why people can't do this at home. Super, super simple. And I think there's such a range of products out there now to make it easy. Because you're right. I mean, everybody's busy. I get it. But 4 minutes, come on.
Well, I also say that people do love their tea. And I know everyone that's listening and to you today, I guarantee you, if you open up their cabinet, they have multiple teas in there.
Oh, yeah.
So why not experiment, right? Like I said here, a wild blueberry acai, a red raspberry. Why not experiment? It's fun, and you might find something you absolutely love. And if you don't, you can try something different the next time.
And I find that combining the most unusual flavors is where the best surprises are. And then that becomes your house blend, right?
Yeah. I think I do something different every time. I mean, obviously, my house is filled with Bigelow teas. And so for me, it's sort of a game of which 2 I'm going to use. And sometimes I use a black tea base. Sometimes I use a green tea base. Or sometimes I completely make it an herbal botanical.
Nice.
Yeah, they're all good.
Well, thank you so much for sharing these with us, Cindi. Cheers to you.
Well, again, happy iced tea month. Thank you for letting me be part of it. I enjoyed listening to the other iced tea speakers as well, which is very, very fun. And you have a super rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. Bye, Cindi.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Bye. All right, everybody. So again, you've got completely different types, completely different styles. Today we saw a couple of cold brews, and actually then a variation of cold brew, which, as I said, is this botanical infusion that Cindi was talking about, and that's a little bit different because it doesn't steep or it doesn't need quite as long. But if you've never done cold brew before, give it a go. It really produces a nice, gentle flavor because it's extracted slowly over time. And then the second thing that I hope you learned from today, or third or fourth or fifth or sixth, however many tips it is that you got today, is that you can take these beautiful iced teas and you can jazz it up and make it into a cocktail. And if you're going to do that, pay as much attention to the details of how to garnish it, what glass to use. You can have an iced tea in a champagne flute or in a wine glass. It doesn't necessarily have to be in just a plain glass. And I think that's about celebrating tea and really enjoying what it is that we're doing. So with that, I'm going to share with you one of our iced tea recipes made into a cocktail, the Jasmine Negroni. So it's been fun having you all. I hope that you chill out with some delicious iced teas, that you try 1, 2, 3, or all of the recipes that you've seen today. I also hope that you join us next Wednesday, where my guests will be Blink Tea, Lady Baker's Tea, Plan de Vida, Tea's Tea, and Yorkshire Tea. Until then, I wish you all a happy National Iced Tea Month. But most important, I wish you all tomorrow a really happy National Iced Tea Day. I'll see you all next week. Take care.